Welcome once again to another episode of the Option Menu Crew Hot Fixes. This is the hot fix for January 30th and the week prior. We're still figuring out all that. And your crew members today, I'm your default settings, Ryan. And with me today also is Ed. Ed, what setting would you consider yourself? I've been meaning to bring this bit into the whole option menu naming thing as well. But I'm just I just realized, I'll just call myself default settings because I'm basically on all of them. And what setting would you consider yourself in the option menu crew?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe language settings.
The
Because
language settings.
because I really have to. We try to keep it clean on this podcast, and me, that's not always how I am. So, definitely have to switch my context for this.
The language settings set to smooth talking. Ed, that's perfect. It'll help us with our intros going forward. I'm your default settings, and here is your language settings. Your language options. Ed, if you were multilingual, that would make a lot more sense too, because then we could be like, hey, give us some Spanish today. So,
Well, I took French in high school, but
there you go.
I don't remember too much of it.
All right, all right. Yeah, I was more of a Spanish guy. Dabble a bit in Japanese, as we both kind of do because of anime. But I have like a Japanese for Dummies book on my shelves that I've browsed through every once in a while. But yeah, this is our shorter format podcast. We are still getting the schedule worked out, production schedule worked out. So please forgive us for not being so timely with the previous episode and possibly not being timely with this one. But we're trying to get it up every Sundays, and we'll just continue to record on Thursday before that in order to get it up in time for that. We have a bunch of news this week, so we're going to start blasting through it. Our first bit of news today is just a PSA to Dark Souls 3 fans on PC. There was an exploit that was found that people could hack your computer through Dark Souls 3 online, and that's really bad. So currently the servers are shut down, and so if you're trying to play Dark Souls 3 online, don't force it. Wait till the patch is up. Otherwise, people might remote hack into your computer, and that's about it there.
Yeah,
Ed,
you could end up being a crypto miner without you even knowing.
yeah, it could be among other things. And then Ed, what's our next story?
So, next story relates to last week's about Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. And this is coming from a tweet from Jason Schreier saying, Activision is committed to releasing at least the next 3 Call of Duty games on PlayStation, even after the Xbox acquisition, according to people familiar with the deal. That's COD 2022, COD 2023, and Warzone 2 in 2023. After that, it's hazier.
Warzone 2.
I'd say this is about what we would have expected given the time frame of the acquisition.
Are they actually making a Warzone 2? Is that what it says, or is that like a speculative?
That's what Jason Schreier said in his tweet.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
it seems like he usually doesn't say something unless he has a source, but plans always could change.
That'd be interesting. I wonder if they're doing a whole new launcher, or if it just means they're going to do like Warzone 2.0, quote unquote. But in general, this news is to be anticipated. Just like when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, there was already gaming agreements in motion for promotion deals and other console exclusive promotion regarding some of Bethesda's upcoming games, like Tokyo Ghostwire, or Ghostwire Tokyo, excuse me, and what was the other game that just came out? Oh shoot,
Deathloop.
Deathloop. Thank you. I feel so ashamed. So yeah, not surprising. We'll see how this pans out and if any of those deals change. But of course, Microsoft's just not going to put itself into any legal trouble with that. So that's pretty neat. And then our next story is Valve announces their Steam Deck launch plans. They'll start emailing people on February 28th to confirm their pre-orders. I'm guessing it's in the wave. So for people who have pre-ordered the Steam Deck, it will be in your Steam store page. And you can check what quarter you are currently in, and then I don't know if they'll just send it out to everybody or they're going to send it out wave by wave to people. So check your inboxes starting on February 25th, and they're saying that the first orders should start shipping out by February 28th. So I have one pre-ordered. I'm currently planning to keep my pre-order. I have the highest tier one. Ed, what about you?
Well, first, do you know what group you're in?
I'm currently
Not the
scheduled
first
for
one.
I'm currently scheduled for Q2. I'm being optimistic that things could change based on who does and doesn't keep their pre-order, or based on possible region priority. So we'll see.
Well, at this point, I'm thinking I won't get it, but I'm not going to cancel my pre-order. I'm going to wait until they actually give me the opportunity to pre-order it or to order it for real, because I don't want to remove that option for myself, because I could always change my mind. Maybe you get it and like it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm feeling like I'm missing out and I have to get it. So I'll keep it for now.
It's so funny how you like to tease Valve and be like, hey, I might buy it. I might buy it. I'm totally not going to buy it, but I might buy it. So that's funny. Yeah.
It's only $5 in my Steam account. Why would I? What am I going to do with that? Especially when I'm not really big on PC games. So it's like the $5 is better used keeping my pre-order for now than giving it up.
All right. Well, you do you on that regard.
I do me.
Then go ahead, Ed, and talk about our next story.
So,
or the next story.
As we mentioned last week when discussing the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, there is the ongoing case and investigation into all the sexual harassment and other misconduct at Activision Blizzard. And in the wake of that, Raven Software, a testing division of Activision, last Friday, the 21st, announced that they were forming a new union, and they were asking for formal recognition by management, and they gave a deadline of January 25th, which was this past Tuesday, and as of that date, they have moved to vote absent Activision Blizzard recognition because Activision Blizzard does not respond. So I think I speak for both of us when we say that we both support the rights of workers to organize, and hope that this results in a favorable outcome for those involved.
Absolutely.
But it's really early in the development. I mean, they still have to vote on it, and I don't know. I've never been a part of a union, so I don't really know all that goes into it. Have you?
No. I've got some people in my life that are close to the unions, so I've gotten a little bit of information there. But in general, I'm aware that unions are mostly a force for good. And there's some ill ones out there, but that's more of a management thing, not necessarily the purpose of the unions. So this is long overdue for the video game industry, and workers' rights are the priority here. So we wish Raven Studios the best of luck and hope this is the first step in the oncoming wave of video game studios and workers in general, unionizing across the industry, so we can get better practices and stop abusing workers, and just, in general. It'll hopefully have cascade effect on other industries as well.
Yeah, it's a good first step, and it seems like the timing is right. People at Activision Blizzard are definitely not happy with the way things are.
Yep. And now,
so I think I want to handle this next one, because this is one thing that I was particularly interested in.
Go right ahead.
And this started way back in 2020. I think it was maybe around August. I don't know the exact timeline, but NVIDIA had announced that they were acquiring ARM. And for those who don't know, ARM is a company that develops the instruction set and pre-built cores for ARM processors, and those are used in everything from cell phones, iPads, the new MacBooks that Apple offers use ARM chips. The Nintendo Switch uses ARM chips, and even there's lots of research into using that architecture for server chips as well. But at this point in time, NVIDIA is now abandoning that ARM acquisition, and that is because around the world, including by the FTC in the United States, they've received regulatory backlash. In December, the FTC did end up suing NVIDIA about that acquisition, and that was not the first opposition they received. So reportedly, they are going to abandon that plan because I guess they don't want to fight the regulatory battle, which is understandable. And I mean, I was kind of concerned about this because Nvidia owning ARM puts a lot of power into one company over technology that is vital to many, many aspects of the economy. So I'd say this is a good thing. It's good for no one company to be engaged in monopolistic practices. I'd like to hear your opinion, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm against monopolies in general. I'm pro business competition, and I think we need better regulations around that. So I'm happy on principle of that. I was just curious because I guess I don't understand who ARM competes with. I see they're a CPU manufacturer, so does that mean they're competing with Intel and AMD in terms of CPUs, and therefore if NVIDIA did that, because NVIDIA's in GPUs basically, so does that mean NVIDIA would be both a GPU and CPU manufacturer then?
They're not a processor manufacturer per se. They sell and license the instruction set, and they also sell pre-built cores that companies can drop into their own processors. So, Qualcomm, who makes processors for a lot of Android phones, they license ARM. So does Samsung for some of their processors. NVIDIA themselves makes ARM processors. The Tegra X1 in the Switch is ARM. And Apple has made a huge investment in ARM. But they're a little different because they actually do all the hardware design themselves. The only thing that they're licensing is the instruction set. So they're not actually taking the pre-built cores that ARM offers to their customers. But it's used in everything, and it's getting bigger. Microsoft, I believe, has been looking into using ARM processors in their servers. It's a much more power efficient architecture than x86 that AMD and Intel use. It's kind of beyond the scope of this topic, but it's big. It's big, and this is not quite shocking, but it's surprising that Nvidia just gave up so quickly. But I'd say that's better for the industry at large.
Okay, yeah, I was just googling it, and I see there's some other companies that I've never seen their names before. So ARM is the big one, and of course I know Nvidia does the GPUs, and Intel's also getting ready to do GPUs as well, or APUs. They're entering the graphics card market. So I just wasn't exactly sure where ARM falls into all this and why the deal was going through. But hey, if it's not a good idea, then I'm happy for it not going through. So I really don't have that. I'm just not informed enough to really have a strong opinion one way or another. Just on principle, that's cool that it's not going through if that would have been bad for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, my education is in computer engineering, so I do have a little insight into what it actually means for, the terms instruction set architecture that might fly over some people's heads, but ARM has this architecture is in a lot of products, and it's would not be good for Nvidia to also have all this GPU technology and this processor technology, and Nvidia would be a competitor, but also the IP holder for a lot of these companies. So
okay, can you give me an example of a layman's terms example of this would be like Burger King buying, or this would be like Hershey's buying McDonald's or something like that? Can you put it into a layman's terms of what Nvidia compared to ARM is in terms of their association of the technology?
Well, Nvidia right now licenses ARM. They don't own any of the IP.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And in a way, Nvidia also does act like ARM themselves, but for GPUs, because they don't make every GPU that has an Nvidia architecture, right? They license out those designs to EVGA, lots of other companies who then design and manufacture the actual GPUs.
Mm-hmm.
So it would put the rest of the industry in a position to where They're going to NVIDIA for their graphics processors. They're going to them for all their mobile and other low power processors, and they'd be a one-stop shop, and that's understandably so is seen as anti-competitive.
So I'm gonna try make another attempt here. So it'd be like McDonald's buying up the cow farm industry, kinda.
Yeah, you could say that it is definitely a major form of vertical integration. So I'd say that's a close enough,
Okay.
analogy.
Okay, I get you now. That's I feel like I'm on a better understanding. Not perfect. I understand that analogy is not perfect, and everyone out there, it's not a perfect analogy. But okay, cool. Then yeah, in general, like that sort of stuff is yeah. And I don't know if Microsoft, like harkening back to our other stories, I don't know if there's going to be any issues with that. But from what I've heard on other podcasts, it doesn't seem like it's actually that big a deal because there's plenty of other software companies out there. There's so many developers of games, and there are fewer publishers though. So Activision was a major publisher for a long time. They have backed off on being a publisher, and I should say they've really just removed all sorts of other IP. There's tons of IP that they have that they don't use anymore. They were just doing Call of Duty, and I don't even know what else they were possibly putting out there at this time besides COD. I think they pretty much whittled it down, other than the Blizzard IP. But that was an acquisition of another big company as well. So yeah, it doesn't seem like that's going to face that much regulatory stuff, and it could even leave a vacuum for other publishers who are smaller to like beef up because people might go like, well, now there's a power vacuum because EA is still out there. Take-Two is still out there. A bunch of the Japanese ones, but they're nowhere near as big. Yeah. Okay.
The other major difference, I believe, with an entertainment acquisition versus a technology one, like with NVIDIA and ARM, is when you buy ARM, you're getting all their patents. And that means that if other people want to use that technology, they have to pay you a licensing fee. Whereas, if you're buying Activision Blizzard, you get their IP, but the people who made them, all the creative people, all the people who actually have the know-how to make these things successful, they can just go off and make their own studio. So you're not. I don't think you're buying the really most. You could easily lose a valuable part of a studio in an acquisition, and in many cases you do, and that is the talent.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and also hardware is way more the thing. When you like own the platform, and like you said, it's ARM goes into all sorts of processors and stuff like that of all different brands. So yeah, that's a much more serious level of rights holding. Pretty crazy. Interesting. It didn't go through, but it's for the better, and hopefully that means some that stuff will go. Although I did see in the article, it might mean that ARM might go public. So I guess they were private for a while. Interesting enough, but that's also probably going to lead to some weird stuff. I don't know of many good stories about something going public in the long term and then being better for it.
So I think you have one more story to talk about, and this is another one that I think will spark a lot of conversation.
Indeed, we have this last one here. It was kind of a really late edition, and that's it's a little off base from video games, but I think it's going to tie back in because it has to deal with YouTube. And I found the story via Kotaku, and if you give me just a moment, I'm opening it up right now. YouTuber hit with ungodly number of anime copyright strikes gets a win for everyone. The long and short of it is that a YouTuber, his channel Totally Not Mark, got hit with over 150 copyright strikes on his videos from Toei Animation, famous Japanese animation studio that's in charge of the Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and Digimon IPs, among many others. So this was a huge deal. And Toei was pushing basically to not only just get those videos removed, but get Totally Not Mark's channel taken down. And this would have put the guy out of business, essentially. He got super lucky that a YouTube contact, anonymously, an anonymous YouTube contact reached out to him to try and help him through this and try and settle it. The result being that they were able to win a case against Toei, where and cause YouTube to change its policy further as well, that instead of outright strikes and bans of videos in every region based on fair use rights, YouTube will now be able to selectively hide videos based on each region's fair use law, individual fair use laws. So, Japan has notoriously way stricter policies on what fair use is for media content. U.S. having a bit looser, and this has been a constant issue with content creators online because of these policies where we'll put something up and they'll and they'll strike the videos, and then it's down everywhere, and this could lead to tons of ad revenue being lost for YouTubers, let alone channels possibly being taken down. So now, luckily, with this case, YouTube has decided to help a little bit protect the creators, in which case a copyright strike will not result in an outright ban. It will just be, the videos can just be taken down in whatever region it's violating, and whoever is the strike claimer, I forget exactly what the term is, but they'll have to make a case based on each region's fair use rights in order to get a video banned in more than just their home region. So, once again, just comparing, for example, if a video is is not within the fair use rights of Japan, that means that YouTube will just hide it from Japanese users, whereas American users could still see the video. And if the Japanese company would want to take down that video in America as well, they would have to make a case where proving that the content is breaking the law, the fair use rights laws in the U.S. as well, in order to get the video delisted there, and so on and so forth in whatever region. So this is kind of a big win because this means that YouTube creators, when they get strikes, don't have to worry about getting a complete blackout. And considering that the U.S. has much softer laws when it comes to fair rights use, or much more open, however you want to phrase it, this could mean a lot of things for also video game YouTubers, especially with like Japanese companies getting really weird and strict about their streaming rights for games and things like that. Outside the regions, whether that's within spoiler periods, and by no means do we advocate spoiling games for other people who don't want to be spoiled, but it's understandable that sometimes there are people out there who don't care, and there are people out there who do, and it's more like this is kind of extra advertising for these companies that they don't really even have to pay for when people go out of their way to capture and stream these videos. And not everyone's a giant influencer. Some people are just like Joe Schmo and Mary Terry. I don't know. I was trying to think of a female version. So that they just want to show off that they're playing this game. They're just breaking into the scene, and it's one other person saying like, "Hey, this game's cool. Check it out." Or you'd hope that's what the message is. Usually that's it. The statistics show that streaming games increases sales. So it's these old corporate overlords that just are out of touch and don't understand what's going on here, and they just want more control of the money and the messaging, and they don't understand that like people are doing the work for them if they just stay out of the way. Ed, did you have any particular feelings about this story after I brought it to you?
I'm just entirely shocked that YouTube was able to help this creator. I don't know. Have we ever heard of another case where YouTube actually sided with the content creator and not the IP holder who is making the copyright claim? That to me seems to be unheard of.
Yeah, I nothing comes to mind. I know like the music rights has been a huge problem for both YouTube, Twitch, and other online platforms. And so I don't know if this is like the first in that regard of like a movement for there, but I can't remember. I think it just goes to show that like maybe YouTube was able to read the tea leaves on this one and was like, if we let this one through, this could possibly destroy a ton of our extra ad revenue because there's so many other YouTubers that focus on like anime style content, let alone like Japanese content, video game or otherwise, and video game, anime or otherwise. So they were like, this is a battle worth fighting because getting videos just broadband across broadband, turn of phrase, sorry, no pun intended, banned over every region off of a single strike may not be the best incentive for them as well as for their creators. They don't want to scorn their creators more. They've already had to make a bunch of decisions. And I'm not saying YouTube couldn't be doing more for their creators, but I'm sure a lot of stuff is like lawyers, legal, and also Google overlords not letting them like do the right thing. So this is very shocking and surprising, but it's great to see that also like a large entity, that two large entities, because Toei is not small, like we said, Dragon Ball and One Piece, they're not small at all, in terms of global popularity. So there's a lot of money there that they were able to be like, hey, like this doesn't make sense. We can meet you halfway. This is the better way to do this, and it makes sense. And let these companies kind of huff and puff because they're always just trying to, it's really just petty what these copyright claim strikes are all about.
Yeah, I would like this to be the start of better policies on fair use on YouTube. I know that some of the creators that I like to watch, they might go live and be watching a video, and it'll be like half a second of a recognizable song plays, and the whole stream is claimed. And I've seen where they have to just shut down the stream and start a new one because it hurts them in the algorithm. It hurts their ad revenue. It's not good that all these major IP holders have so much power to demand how their IP is used when I think in a lot of people's opinion it does fall under fair use.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to know how much fair use covers for video, audio, etc., and other things like that, and where the overlaps are and are not. So maybe there is more legalese that we just don't know about. But hopefully this might be also another a step in the right direction for more change in the industry that will allow content creators to just kind of do what they got to do, which will lead to the industry just making more money in general anyways. So it's really funny to see these guys that just don't understand stuff try and stand in the way of this progress, and fans just trying to be out there and talk about the things they love, which is what the corporations make, which leads them to make more money. Anyways, it's so strange. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. We blasted through all the news, Ed. So did you have any other final thoughts today?
I just had a thought. You were asking about like the legalese or something. I don't know if there are any legal precedents really strongly made for fair use and how it applies to user-generated content.
Or music. I meant more specifically music, because that's another thing that people have been getting copyright rights strikes on a ton. The music industry is notoriously corrupt.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if if there has been legal cases where that's been held up as valid, or is it more likely that neither side really wants it to go to court and get a real ruling on it because, one of them is going to get the answer they don't like. I think it might be interesting. Maybe we should explore that in a future discussion episode. I'd do a little actual research on it instead of just guessing while we're here on a news episode.
Absolutely, and we'll keep an eye on the news, whether or not this leads to other crazy news out there. And yeah, we should do some research for one of our full podcast episodes. But yes, thank you again, everyone, for joining us on Hot Fixes. We look forward to bringing you some more news next week. And check out the regular podcast as well. That will be continuing on its bi-weekly schedule basis as well. And well, forgive us if we mess up at all on things, because we're doing this for fun. We're flying by the seat of our pants, and we're just two guys just having fun. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. We hope you have another great week.
Yep. See you again.